All right, we'll come up with a poll question here. Seton, you got one for hour one?
Yeah, I think I do.
Right.
It's a topic that we were all kicking around before the show, but there's been a bunch of Achilles tears lately.
Coincidence?
Or is there a reason?
All right, we reached out to a Harvard-educated orthopedic surgeon who has been on the show before, former offensive lineman, Dr. Mark Addix, and he's going to join us a little bit later on because you start to think about it. Okay, Tatum, Haliburton, and Dame, Achilles tears. Kevin Durant with Achilles tear. I'm trying to remember. Isaiah Thomas tore his Achilles late in his career. But I'm trying to remember growing up in the 60s or the 70s, if anybody tore their Achilles in the NBA. Now, you can say today's athlete is so much better. Absolutely. But you would think, Aaron Rodgers is not athletic anymore. He tore his Achilles. Dan Marino, not athletic. He tore his Achilles. Just going back to pass. Nobody hit him. So that's why I'm curious about this. And the surgery, by the way, Haliburton had surgery in New York yesterday. It was successful. It's always successful. But I don't know when he's coming back. That really affects the East. Tatum, I don't know when he's coming back. But Haliburton said, hey, if I had to do it all over again, I would have done it the same way. I don't think I would do it the same way. If I knew that I was going to tear my Achilles and it's going to impact next season for my team, I probably would have said, maybe use me sparingly. Yes, Marvin.
So if you knew you were going to lose, would you still do it?
If I knew I was going to lose. Well, okay, I don't want to impact my team next year. If you know you're going to blow out your Achilles. So he gets to game 7, all of a sudden he's made a couple of moves and he goes, hey, take me out. Now, in the moment, everybody's going to crucify him. But if we know what the end result's going to be, then of course, I'm not going to blow out my Achilles in a game we're going to lose or I can't have an impact on, and it's going to impact my team next year. Yeah. Yeah, Paul.
All right, to put this in perspective, we're going to have to go back to Curt Schilling in 2004. We discussed this on this show a zillion years ago. If Tyrese Haliburton going into Game 7 can sign up for, I'm going to play 7 minutes, play well, tear my Achilles, and be out for next year, and we're going to win a title.
Oh, well, win a title.
Well, that's where it's an actual discussion. Would you sign on a piece of paper to lose your entire next season?
Is my team going to need me?
You're going to play
He's only playing 7 minutes, so you're going to – this is based off my teammates.
Or you roll the dice, and whatever happens in Game 7 happens if you don't sign that piece of paper. We asked Schilling that on this air. He said he'd be glad to with his ankle thing.
Yeah, but I don't know what he was risking with that ankle other than that ankle looked terrible. But I don't know if he was risking his career.
Right.
Haliburton, with his Achilles, you're never the same. I mean, you can pretend that you are. I'm back and better than ever. It's like microfracture surgery with your knee. I had that. Amari Stoudemire, a lot of NBA players have had it. You don't come back from it. There's certain injuries where, okay, this is as good as you're going to be. I think we've come pretty far with the Achilles. But if you said I'm signing up for playing 7 minutes, I'm blowing out my Achilles, we're going to go win the title, I'd say, why don't you guys go win the title? I'm going to sit here and watch, and then I'll be here next year to play with you. Yes, Todd.
I'd be concerned, and I think most athletes would be, I may never get a chance to play for a title, a Game 7. This could be my only chance. And even if I'm going to run the risk of not being able to play next year, how could you not be part, even if you're not a huge part of the win?
But you're going to sign up for 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
You got on the court and you played some small factor, whatever, but you were on the court for the championship game.
Next year.
Yeah. You may never be able to play again in a championship game. Look at Dan Marino there. You guys, you get one chance, and then after that, you're done forever, not even sniffing a chance to play for a ring. I think you got to do it.
I don't want to be out there for 7 minutes knowing that I'm going to be in surgery in a couple of days and out for the next season. My teammates are going to win that title.
But they're probably not. Actually, they're unlikely to because of the odds with you being out. Oklahoma City would be an overwhelming favorite in that game. So that's the risk.
Well, it doesn't matter. They were an overwhelming favorite every single game. They were favored by 9.5 in the championship game. It didn't matter about Haliburton. They were favored by 9.5. Yes, Marvin.
But Haliburton he'd be in a Willis Reed type spot if he came out there and he did the exact same thing. Started out hot, and the rest of his team, Nembhard, Naismith, whoever, took him home. He would still be looked at as a legend.
Yeah, but what happened to Willis Reed after that game? What happened next season? Does anybody remember when Willis came out and only played a few minutes, hit a couple of buckets, he was done? Does anybody remember what his season was like the following? No, they don't. Maybe he wasn't even available. I mean, I know that he had knee surgery, probably later in his career, probably didn't play much longer after that. But here's Haliburton, who's young. I would not go, if I knew that I was going to be out next season. And I know it's a crazy hypothetical, because if you go into the game and you're going to say to Rick Carlisle, hey, if I go out there, I'm going to give you 7 minutes, I'm going to hit 3 threes, and I'm going to blow out my Achilles. What would Rick Carlisle do? If he knew that, Haliburton says, look, it feels like I'm going to blow out my Achilles. Rick Carlisle is going to say to Haliburton, you tell me what you want to do. But if I knew I was going to blow it out and we were going to go on and win, but would you win if I'm only playing 7 minutes? Yeah, Paul.
Willis Reed, going back to the 73 finals, he came out and became the hero. He played one more season in the NBA, 19 games, and then retired due to injury.
No, the game was 1970.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, 70. Oh, so 1970, he was the MVP that year. He played in those playoffs. He came back and was still a good player for a couple more years.
Okay. Yeah, he got the MVP in the finals, but it should have been Walt Frazier's. But it was he was very inspirational there. Absolutely. Stat of the day brought to you by Panini America, the official trading cards of the Dan Patrick Show. First hour brought to you by Mako. Little TLC for your car, bringing it back to life. Affordable paint jobs like collision repairs. Get a free estimate today. Better get Mako. All right, Seton. So what was the question for the first hour?
Is it just a coincidence, or is there a reason for all of these Achilles injuries?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't know if it must have been last week. I would imagine maybe the week before. We did a whole topic about should Tyrese Haliburton sit to throw off Oklahoma City? If they're prepared for him, why don't you just sit, rest it, and maybe that would actually play into the Pacers' hands better.
Well, I wondered if it would make him stronger if you sat him out the second half of that game they got blown out, and then the following game.
Yeah, I think it was, do you sit out Game 6?
Yes.
For Game 7?
If I knew that he would be healthier, and you were playing at home, so you were going to get everything the Pacers had. If you're confident the Pacers can win the game at home, get to a Game 7, and then Haliburton is healthier, then yes. But I said I would have sat him out in the second half of Game 5 when you're getting smoked. I would have had him sit out and then but once again, former NBA player said, if that was the regular season, you're missing at least a week, if not longer, with that injury. Haliburton rolled the dice. Indiana rolled the dice. Rick Carlisle rolled the dice. So nobody can be upset about this. Everybody, I think, knew what was at stake here. And Haliburton tried and sent out a lengthy tweet. He talks about the mental aspect of this. That's what happens with injuries. Like, you can get hurt and then you have surgery. Then the depression sets in. When you're alone, when you're doing rehab and you're not able to shoot, there's nothing fun going on, and it's just you. Now, you'll have a physical therapist there, but that's what he's talking about, like the mental hurdle that he's going to have to overcome. That's the hard part with injuries, in my opinion. And as many injuries as I've had, it's when you're going to PT and you're going, God, or you're breaking through scar tissue, and you're like, and, it feels like the next day is the same, and the next day is the same, and then all of a sudden you get this little glimmer of hope that, hey, don't need your crutches. Or, hey, you don't need Percocet. Hey, you don't need to ice it like just little things like that. Tatum's going through that right now. Dame. And now Haliburton. But the coincidental part of this, man, I don't buy that. Just feels like there's something different. These are all marquee players. Yes, Marvin.
I feel bad for the Pacers from this standpoint. They're going back into irrelevancy after such a great 2 months, because next year, when you're going into the season, no one's going to be talking about the Pacers because there's no Haliburton. And so they're just going to go back into being a middle-of-the-pack team in the East until he comes back. So that hurts them as far as notoriety. They were trying to build a star, and now they don't have him.